Good evening, folks. This is George Almodovar here. Today's title is the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Please note, this is for educational purposes only. This is not intended to give legal advice. If legal advice is needed, please sort out a professional as an attorney that may help you out in that field. That being stated, I decided to make this video because a lot of people do not understand their constitutional rights. I did another video which is called the 2 cents or my 2 cents into a police state. So I figured I'd go over the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution so those who aren't sure about their rights, including police officers, and by the way, I'm not bashing police officers, but a lot of them I do believe that are working, even though some of them are doing a great job, many of them are violating the constitutional rights, your constitutional rights, and they are not aware of it because they just basically following orders and they doing their job, what they perceive to be their job. Okay, so here it is, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. And if you're a police officer, I want you to listen to this very carefully, because a lot of these violence that be going on in these days, a lot of people getting injured, shot, killed, could be avoided, or at the very least diminished, if you will follow constitutional law. Which, by the way, I want you to keep in mind, there is no law higher than the Constitution, okay, and the Bill of Rights. All right, now, there are many cases in the Supreme Court that have ruled that any state or no state can make any law that will abrogate your rights. Okay, and the rights that was referring to was the constitutional rights or the Bill of Rights. So I'm going to get to these little statutes or laws that was even ruled by the Supreme Court, so you can see for yourself. So here we go. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, and it states, the right of the people to be secured in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued, but upon probable cause supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and persons or things to be seized. If you recall from my previous video, my 2 cents into the police state, where I basically stated the Declaration of Independence, you will see that technically, according to the Constitution, a cop not supposed to pull you over. And the reason for that is because once they do, they are detaining you. Therefore, by detaining you, they are violating your constitutional rights, because there has not been a crime committed for them to have the right to detain you. Again, I do understand that there has to be rules and regulation. We can't have people driving or speeding above 150 miles an hour, whatever the case may be, and might get themselves killed or get a family member or friend of yours killed. So I do understand that. But to me, where I have an issue is when they exceed that temporary authority given by the consent of we the people. When they actually, you have not committed a crime, and they tell you to step out the vehicle, step out the car. Okay, and because of that, that leads to other issues, which they're not only violating your rights, but at the same time, sometimes they might even injure you. In another video in the near future, I will speak about my encounters with police officers, and yet me as a real estate professional, as an author of a book, The No BS in Making Millions in Real Estate, as a property owner, property management company, business owner, great reputation, a pillar of my community. I myself been a victim of police brutality, which is why I take this personal. And one day I'm going to disclose, because people tend to have different perception, especially depending where they grew up. I grew up in the ghetto. I know what it's like to live in the ghetto. Okay, and one day I'm going to disclose, and you will see for yourself. But then again, getting back to this, your rights, unless you have committed a crime, and there's a sworn affidavit filed in court from a witness with a course of action, who was injured, for example, whose rights has been violated, their rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, is the only way that a judge could obtain a warrant, okay, and have police officer with a specified warrant, what is to be seized or detained, can go and detain you. Otherwise, they are committing a crime. They are kidnapping you. They are detaining you. This is why when an officer pulls you over, you technically have a right to say, am I being detained? Am I free to go? See, if they answer no, okay, you are not detained, then you are free to go. But you want to make sure, because you don't want them to charge you with fleeing a scene or something like that. Okay, but again, for those that are not sure of what I just stated here as far as your rights, According to Title 18, United States Code, so basically the Constitution, Section 242, whoever, it says very clearly, whoever, under color of any law, that includes cops, judges, anyone hiding under color of law, statutes, ordinances, regulations, or customs, willfully subject any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivations of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, explosive, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned no more than 10 years, or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or it is such acts including kidnapping, or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years, or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. I want to get this across to you people because you got to understand something. When cops detain you, technically, they are violating your constitutional rights. But the problem is not that they're violating the constitutional rights. The problem is when they actually have you come out the car when you have not committed a crime. I've seen them breaking windows, breaking windshields. And this is where it needs to get stopped. Because basically, they swore you swore an oath. If you're an officer looking at me right now, you swore an oath to the Constitution, to uphold and protect the Constitution. You're there to serve and protect the people. So by you violating this right, you basically are committing treason. And I don't have to state what treason is punishable by what. You know that. If you remember any type of history or anything regarding the Constitution. Now, again, I do not advocate violence. You have to be careful these days what you say. Because your freedom of speech is being... you might end up getting arrested just by saying something that somebody might perceive it in a different way. But there is Supreme Court ruling. And I'm going to give you one. C. Miller versus United States, 230 F, 2nd, 486-489, 5th Circuit, 1959. And it says, the claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. You can also look up Marbury versus Madison, 5 United States, 2 Cranch, 137, 174, 176. And also Murdoch versus Penn, 319 United States. It says, no state, notice, no state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. What is a driver's license? And Shuttleworth versus Birmingham, 373 United States, 262 in 1963. If the state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage in the right with impunity. There are many Supreme Court landmark cases that I could state here. But what I want you to understand is that because the constitutional law is the supreme law of the land, is the foundation of this country, no state can make a law that infringes upon people's liberty, upon your right. And if they do, it becomes null and void. They might make it. It could be even judges that might make Supreme Court justices that might make some laws. But if it's contrary to the Constitution, it's as if it never happened. It becomes null and void, and the people do not have to comply. What's your interpretation of the Constitution? Keep in mind that people back in those days, there were people that wrote papers that were called the Anti-Federalists and the Federalist Papers, and they explained why they made the Constitution. They also explained the Bill of Rights. They make sure that the Constitution was not signed until they accepted the Bill of Rights because they were worried about government becoming too strong, centralized government becoming too strong and infringing or abrogating people's right. Okay? There were a lot of these laws, believe it or not, were from Indians who knew about unalienable rights, God-given rights, that no man has a right to interfere with you as a person. or as a man, as a natural man, I should say. And that's why they implemented all these rules and regulations and all these laws to protect you in America. Because a country without a foundation will crumble. And we're getting away from this foundation. And without this foundation, what do we have? This is what made America great. Let's keep it that way. Learn the Constitution. Read the Constitution. Read your Bill of Rights. Even read the Magna Carta. And know why we have these protections that secure our unalienable rights. They were not given by the Constitution, by the way. Okay? Because they're God-given. But they were secured because the Founding Fathers knew better based on history of past countries, just like Great Britain with King George III. They knew what it was going to lead to. And this is why they created all these statutes and these laws to protect you as an American citizen. But you are slacking. You're watching videos, watching American Idol, and you don't even know what is your rights. And this is why many people's rights are being violated. And many officers thinking that they're doing their job, they're violating American people's rights. And it's leading to all these issues, all these violations, and people getting injured. Because if they will follow constitutional law, which is above any law, this wouldn't be happening today. All these riots and all these things. And it's going to get worse. I wrote this video before these riots happened. Okay, I see it happening. It's going to get worse unless we as American people stand up for our rights and we demand that we follow the Constitution. I thank you folks for watching me. Please comment right down below. Watch my other video, my 2 cents into the police state. Thank you very much. Today is Friday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. Bye-bye.